Hello everyone, hope you're doing alright, hope you're keeping safe, hope you're keeping sane. Bit of a different video this. I just want to talk about the increase in gambling recovery channels and gambling addiction blogs and stuff that is happening on YouTube. Recently I've had an awful lot of comments from people who share their experiences with me. I've had a lot of comments about people sharing their own gambling stories, their own addiction stories, and telling me how they're getting on with their recovery. I've also had some lovely comments from people telling me how my videos have helped and how a lot of what I talk about has rung very true with them and is sort of reflected in their own experiences of gambling addiction. And look, I really appreciate it. It's really good to hear, and I'm so grateful that not only can I help people with the same addiction I suffer from, but also that people are willing to share with me both their addiction and also give me feedback on what I'm doing that helps, and maybe what I'm doing that doesn't help as well. Alongside that, I've also seen an awful lot of other people starting channels like my own, where they talk about their gambling addiction, they talk about their experiences, and they use it as a way to track their own recoveries. And I've said before that the reason I started this channel initially was to track my own recovery. It was never expected really to be what it is now, which is me either talking about gambling addiction or whatever comes to my mind, but it was a way of supporting myself, in theory at least, through my own gambling addiction and by keeping myself on the right track. So in this video, what I want to do is address people doing something similar, and I want to let you know about the pitfalls and what I experienced and how I kind of came unstuck a little bit by trying to help other people. When I first started doing this, like I say, it was done partially to help other people, but mostly to help myself. But I made a big mistake. I talked about gambling too much. I was doing videos almost on the daily when I was talking about all aspects of gambling, not just gambling recovery, not just gambling addiction, but also my history with gambling. I was talking about this, that and the other. You can still see I haven't really removed any videos from my channel, so they're still there if you want to have a little flick back through and have a look at the sort of things I used to talk about. And the problem with this is in the early stages of my recovery, it kept gambling very much at the forefront of my mind, when actually what I should have been doing, not suppressing it as such, but moving on and doing other things. You know, we talk about the triangle of, time and opportunity and all of that, but we do, or we should factor into that, the psychological side of it, and that is, if gambling is always here at the forefront of your mind, for whatever reason, be that positive or negative, then, it doesn't take a huge amount of tipping over. It doesn't take a massive urge to tip that over from being on your mind to action. And I learned that the hard way. I was making these videos, I thought at the time, helping myself and hopefully helping others. But what I was doing is keeping myself on the cusp of gambling, when really I should have been distancing myself from it as much as possible. It was an error I made quite a few times in sort of my attempts at recovery and this current recovery that I'm in. And I would still class it as an attempt, even though we're 2 years in or whatever. I still class it as a recovery attempt. Before this, though, there were many failed attempts at recovering from gambling, and I must admit, to myself, I was naive. I was foolish. I thought I could do it. Firstly, I thought I could do it through willpower, but also I had in my mind this idea of an active recovery where not gambling would be something I did. Now, to sort of try and explain a little bit what I mean there, what I mean now is what I would call a passive recovery. Yes, I make these videos, but the rest of the time I make sure I stay away from gambling opportunities. I make sure I stay away from situations where I can put myself at risk of gambling, or I can put myself at the risk of a gambling urge or of temptation. That is what I call a passive recovery. When I started trying to quit gambling, and the first few attempts I had this great idea in my head that what I could do was, aside from the YouTube channel, I could actively be in recovery. I could put myself into situations where gambling was possible. I could go to the pub with cash in my pocket, and risk having a go on the fruit machines. I could go into the bookies with friends of mine who gambled. I didn't need blocks in place. I didn't need GamStop. I didn't need self-exclusion. And the psychology with this behind, but the logic I put behind this flawed strategy was that what I was doing was challenging myself. And that somehow, if I survived these challenges, I survived these tests, I survived these situations and scenarios that I was putting myself in without gambling, that I could give myself a metaphorical, maybe even a physical, if I fancied it, pat on the back and say, well done, Phil. You know, you survived a night in the pub without playing the fruit machines. You had cash in your pocket, you could have done it, but you didn't. Well done. You know, you are a great recovering gambler. You're really good at this recovery luck. And that was my motif. That was the plan I had. And I sort of expressed this to other recovering gamblers, people far, far down the road, or much further down the road than myself. I used to talk about it on places like the GamCare forum, talk about that a little bit. And people say, no, you're an idiot. In effect, you know, you're foolish. And I was like, no, I'm not an idiot. This is my recovery. And I will stay and I will stand by the fact that everyone's recovery is different. Everyone, you know, puts their life back on track in a slightly different way. And what works for me might not work for you. But the one thing I will say is this active recovery motif, this active recovery strategy where I would challenge my own resolve, where I would challenge my willpower and I would reward myself for abstaining, didn't work. Because I was testing myself too much, and addiction is very, very strong. What you need when you have an addiction is to eliminate these tests, and when you are subject to exposure to gambling, and gambling is everywhere, you know, I wasn't going to stop going to the pub, I wasn't going to stop seeing other gambling mates, I wasn't going to stop going online. What I needed to do was buy myself time where I couldn't block things completely in order to consider my options. I needed to buy myself breathing space to go, rather than sort of sticking a tenner in the fruit machine. This is just an example, but rather than just stick a tenner in the fruit machine, if I didn't have cash on me, could I be bothered to walk to the ATM? If I could be bothered to walk to the ATM, which was like a 10-minute walk away, you know, that would give me clarity. That would give me thinking time, breathing space to go, actually, you know what, you know, I'm in recovery, and remind myself of the reasons I was doing this. To sit there on the cusp, to sit there on the edge of gambling, testing yourself and thinking, you know, quite a lot of the time you succeed. And yeah, you might get a little bit of a hit and think, yeah, I did it. But you'll get just as much of a hit from going, yeah, I did it, without the need to overly challenge yourself. And the one thing I will say to all these people who are sharing their experiences, who are creating YouTube channels, documenting their recovery, you have my full, unequivocal support, and I wish everyone the very, very best in their recoveries. I'm not saying this because, they're competition. There is no competition. You know, I don't care if I get one viewer, I don't care if I get a million viewers. Actually, that's a lie, I do, because ultimately the more people that see my videos, hopefully the more people it can help. But I would just say that if you're just starting out on your recovery journey, just be careful. Help yourself, concentrate on yourself, concentrate on doing what you need to do to put yourself in a better position to start your recovery before you try and help other people. You'll see if you go back through my videos that after the initial however many there was a video documenting a lapse or a relapse. I think I called it a relapse. Technically it was kind of just a lapse, but I didn't really know the difference at the time. And I can't say for sure, but I can't help but feel that that lapse was brought about because I never distanced myself. I never gave myself that space, and I was busy actively trying to abstain. I was busy trying to be an active non-gambler and making these videos and talking to you guys. Some of you guys are still watching to this day, and I very much appreciate that. But that, to me, was part of my recovery, but it was too early. It was too soon. I wasn't allowing myself to find other interests, to find space, to look after myself mentally and in a way physically as well. I needed to start taking up exercise. I needed to put myself in a better mindset. So to all you who are starting these channels, I'm watching a lot of you. I've started subscribing to you guys, and I'm following your journeys, and I wish you all the very, very best. I really do. And you have my utmost support. And if you ever want to chat, then please do. But I would just say be careful. Just be careful. Look after yourself. Gambling recovery is for you. It's for your family. It's for those you love. It's for those around you. And ultimately, yes, if you can help other people, then that's brilliant. And I really, really like the community that we're building here on YouTube. and the fact we are helping each other out. But be careful, and be selfish. Put yourself first. You have to look after yourself, because without looking after yourself, you're going to be no good to other people. And I tried, and I threw myself in too deep, and in the end, the only person I wasn't looking after was me, and I relapsed, and here we are. So, take care of yourselves, stay safe, stay sane, and I'll speak to you all soon. All the best.